the role of churches in Uganda politics. The changing face of religion can be seen very clearly in Uganda of today. That the churches are growing and changing with the community, with the society. What we used to have before was a church that cares for the people, the poor people in actual fact. But now that the community is changing, the society is changing, the churches are focusing mainly on the rich people. When you go to the church today, the front seats are reserved for the VIP, people with money, people who can just throw money into that basket, moving around. The more money you pour in, you get the best seat in front. The middle one are for the small people who put about 10 shillings, 20 shillings, 30. This one you can sit there. But for the poor people, these days, either you stand outside or you take a back seat. You know, when Pope Francis visited Uganda in 1969, it was historical. It was the first ever visit to an African continent by a Pope, and that was Uganda, the first country to host the Pope. And when he came to Uganda, he was received by the former president, Dr. Apollo Milton Obote, and Miriam, his wife. There were a lot of VIP from African countries, like Julius Nyerere, the president of Tanzania, Kenneth Kaunda, the president of Zambia at that time, Gregory Kayibanda of Rwanda, Mikombero of Burundi, and representative of Joseph Mobutu, now the Congo. They were all there. It was a different situation. It was a church that cared for the people. It was the church that was taking care of the poor. But then the game started changing. That the church are becoming many and many and many, and they're using completely different tactics in reaching the people who worship them. I was hearing a story of a woman who became a member of the church, and then the priest was telling her that God have asked him to ask her to hand over her salary every month to the church if she wants the blessing of God. I wonder which God was that, asking this poor woman with 2 kids to hand over her salary to a pastor or a priest or a reverend, while her 2 kids are at home having nothing to eat. And being as stupid as we are, human nature, you still believe that God have instructed this man who called himself a priest, asking you to give all your salary to this church. Does not make sense. And that poor woman, every month, is calling her brother, say, sir, can you give me some money? I don't have food for the children. And when the brother asks her, he say, you are working. What are you doing with your money? And I told the brother, I say, I have to give the money to the church because that is our contribution. If you give money to the church, God is going to help you. But I don't know which God is going to come and help you when you give the money to that pastor or to that reverend or to that priest. That priest will receive that money. He will feed his family. He will make sure his family are having good clothes. They go to good school while you are suffering with your 2 kids at home. How stupid could we be? Sometimes back I was reading about a pastor somewhere in Africa who was saying, if I want a new car, I'll go to the church tomorrow, put a big sack or bag or basket, and then I tell my followers that I need a car. They will drop the money in, and tomorrow he has a car. I want to have an airplane. He will do whatever possible to make sure that you get an airplane. How stupid are we as human nature? How stupid are we? We accept it, we agree to it, and we never change. You see, my problem with these people are that the priest, the reverend, all these people are priest, reverend, or pastor during the daytime. During daytime. At night, they are soldiers of fortune. Why? Because some of these people, you consider them to be pastors. They are well trained to do what they do best. And they are sent there, and you can see that within our society, if you want to be somebody, or if you want to earn money, you just start a church. A friend of mine told me, he said, look, brother, the best thing you can do if you want to come back home is to start your own church. That is where you can make money. Nobody is going to bother you. But joining politics is very risky. So I looked at him. I said, what is this man talking about? What is he really talking about? Do I really understand what he's talking about? But later I realized that when you're in the church business, it seems as if nothing can touch you. But really, that is not the truth, because lately I've been seeing a lot of kidnapping and killing. Even pastors are being kidnapped and killed. Uganda these days, and probably in all African countries. So there is nothing safer than being a priest or a pastor, as that friend of mine was telling me. If you want to live well, you just start your church and you become a good preacher. I don't think I can do that because I don't want to be a preacher. But you see, the church is changing rapidly. Why? Because our society is also changing. And when a society is changing, it brings a lot of dirty wash out and in. There are some dirty wash that are going to be hung outside. Some dirty wash are going to be hung inside. So you will not know exactly who is who in this process of change. Because the priests, the pastors, and the bishop, and the rest, they also want to eat. They also want to have something. But then when you receive something from someone else, or you receive money from a state, then you are compromised, because whatever you do, you'll have to follow the game which is being played at that moment. In 2016 election, the president declared that religious groups would receive increased state funding because they help states to police the mind of the people instead of just depending on policing the body. This statement was made at a born-again event. It was not more than a coincidence that Uganda religious and political argumentation was in recent years become very important. If you can see that the increase of the Pentecostal religions is really moving very fast in Uganda. It is everywhere you find them. So if the state is funding religious group, the moment the state funds you, you have become a police, policing the mind of the poor people. Because the state is not going to fund you and you are going to be against the state, or say, I'm not going to do what the state wants me to do. That is when you see the dark side of religion in Uganda today. A religion whereby the government is funding a certain group of religion, and the job is, I give you the money, and then you put the music on and you tune it. So it is these religious groups who are now being hired to service the mind of the people in villages. These groups are being given money. It would not surprise me if we have a group of well-trained people. Could be military, could be local defense forces, that you train them properly, give them the money, And you go to the villages, you go to town, you go to cities, you're a pastor, you're a priest, you're what? But at the same time, at night, you're a soldier of fortune. During daytime, you're a pastor, you're a priest, you're a doctor, you're a scientist. There's no problem. At night, you carry your AK-47. You're a soldier of fortune. This is what is happening with the religion. You are a priest during daytime, and at night, a soldier of fortune. You carry your gun. That's exactly what is happening with religion today. I ask myself, if I am a Catholic, we have the Catholic Church in Rome. They have their own bank. They have their own money. Why can't they give you money to service your people? You have the Anglican with their church in Canterbury. Why don't you ask them to give you money to serve your people? Or if you get a collection from ordinary people, as we used to do, we knew that the money was going for a good service. We wouldn't mind giving that money. But when you turn yourself against the poor, because you want more money, you want to receive money from those who can throw millions, and then you put them in the front bench to sit there, while you refuse us, the small guys, to sit in front. You cannot even bless us because we don't pay you money. Then there's something wrong with this religion. Islam, they have Mecca. They have all these rich people in the Islamic world. Why can't they give you money and service your people? With respect, not stealing. Not that a pastor or a priest ran away with somebody's wife, or a pastor or a priest ran away with somebody's husband. Like a priest or a pastor is cheating, being caught naked in a lodge with somebody's wife. What sort of God is that? What sort of religion is that? It is time. Either you go back to the basic, what we had before, that you are for the people, you serve the poor, or else you stick with the rich and get the funding from the government. Once you are being funded by the government, you are also responsible for whatever happens. For whatever happens into that system. So if there are people being tortured in the safe house, you religious leaders, you are responsible because you have taken the dirty money of sponsoring, of funding. If people are being kidnapped and killed, you, the religious leaders, are also responsible for those deaths. I hope you have listened and you'll move to do things better rather than cheating people of whatever small money they have. I hope you subscribe. Thank you. See you again.